Hello, everyone. This is Tim Rowan, and welcome to another episode of Meet the CEO. We've been doing this series mostly with CEOs of software companies, and I made an exception this time because I met somebody that I think you need to hear about. Andre Gomez is the president and CEO of Bedrock Healthcare at Home in Edison, New Jersey. And when I wrote an article after an interview with him last year, I got very interested in the different things he's doing from what I have been learning over the last 25 years about how home health care, home care, and hospice work. So it's my pleasure to introduce Andre Gomez to you today. Andre, welcome to Meet the CEO.
It's a pleasure, Tim. Thank you so much for having me. And listen, I share your sentiments. When we spoke like last year, I think there was an immediate spark that we were onto something. And I am thrilled to be able to share our story with your audience and your listeners.
Great. Well, let's start with some background. You're located in New Jersey. What area do you cover?
We are currently covering the entire state of New Jersey. Our headquarters is in Edison, New Jersey. We also have a satellite office in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And we predominantly cover every county, south, north in New Jersey. And we are very excited to be expanding to 9 states as we speak.
9 states. Oh, so you are on the move. So now tell us what category of healthcare services do you provide? The ones that we talk about here, of course, are Medicare home health, non-medical personal care services, and hospice.
So the story, actually, we started the journey 8 years ago as we revamped our home care entity that we renamed Bedrock at Home. And that is actually in Nevada, Texas, Florida, Virginia, Ohio. It's in New Jersey, New York, and we're expanding this past 2 years and really enhancing the home care services that our patients, our clients need by bringing in the skilled services portions, which is something that we're extremely excited about. So we started on the home care side, private duty, and delivering LPNs, exercise physiologists, RNs to our clients. That has manifested and matriculated in us being able to provide a very, very robust, comprehensive continuum of care.
When we spoke before, you explained to me that you're not just providing in-home services through an in-home care agency. Can you talk to us about the partnerships that you've been developing?
So absolutely, Tim. So we started, again, we revamped our home care probably 8 years ago to really focus on wellness. What we saw 8 years ago is that our home care client, they were being almost handheld to the grave. We were making them even more debilitated. So what we considered 8 years ago is that we were going to add more wellness. And that's when we started really venturing out into the exercise physiologist. And the exercise physiologist added a new dynamic to our home care as we were able to, again, elevate the wellness, elevate the vibrancy of our clients. As we got a little closer to the pandemic, again, not knowing what the pandemic was going to hold for all of us, we really started considering the high client acuity. The acuity continued to really rise, and we saw ourselves needing to really build the ammunition of services that we were delivering to our clients. And that's when we considered and said, you know what, we need to explore other options to enhance the viability of our home care amenities. And that's when we brought in our medical practice, which currently has physicians, nurse practitioners, physician associates. We brought in pharmacists, dietitians. We also brought in physical, occupational speech therapists. And then we also encapsulated all of our services through our population health team. That is a 24/7 call center that has nurses, social workers, and other healthcare workers treating patients with telemonitoring, remote patient monitoring, telehealth, chronic care management. And again, adding that to our home care model has really completed what we called no longer a continuum, but now an ecosystem. So we treat patients in skilled nursing facilities, long-term cares, assisted living, independent livings, memory care. We treat them at home. We also do a ton of virtual care, virtual therapy, virtual wellness, virtual medicine. And again, for us, it's been the opportunity to keep people at home, which is where they want to be, and really reduce their time in the hospital, reduce their time in that, recidivism where they're going back and forth and what we call transfer trauma. So we really have focused on decreasing frailty, decreasing the medication errors, decreasing the nutritional efficiency that we see in our patients, and really reducing that transfer trauma and that social isolation, what we call the top 5 risk factors of older adult decline.
When you talk about bringing on physicians and nurse practitioners, exactly what does that mean? What is, are you employing them, or how does that work?
Perfect question. So we developed back in before the pandemic, we developed a management company that we call Bedrock Healthcare at Home. And that management company would employ physicians. So we started 2 PCs, Patient Care Medical Group and Patient Care Specialty Group, that are managed currently by Bedrock Healthcare at Home. So we do employ them. They're salaried employees, and it's a beautiful thing to see the interdisciplinary approach of our physicians with our caregivers, our nurse practitioners, with our exercise physiologists. So our home care teams feel supported. They feel the expediency of communication, the collaboration. Home care has been sometimes the end of the healthcare continuum, the end and sometimes the afterthought, right, of the healthcare continuum. Now we're front and center, and any day a physician can be advising one of our caregivers on a home care case, something that was never seen before. You wouldn't see a physician, you wouldn't see a nurse practitioner, you wouldn't see a physician associate, sometimes you wouldn't see a therapist advising a caregiver. So in our environment, in the Bedrock healthcare ecosystem, we see that fragmentation in healthcare that has affected our healthcare system for so long, that has ended. We have collaboration. We have, a healthcare team that approaches our clients' acuity as a healthcare and a team sport. And that has really improved the outcomes of our patients. And it's really kind of made us the go-to home care team for skilled home health agencies when they're ready to discharge, for skilled nursing facilities when they're ready to discharge their patients. And the social workers in the hospital love us because our return to hospitalization rates, since we started using the Bedrock healthcare ecosystem, went down to 2.1%. And that's really what we're proud of. The fact that we keep patients out of the hospital.
2.1% is almost nothing compared to the national average of 29 or 30.
That's correct. Right now, we see 33%. Some states are seeing as high as 38%. And again, the level of complexity and the level of acuity of our patients, our clients, continues to rise. And the COVID pandemic didn't do us any favor, Tim. We have inherited the most deleterious, the most highly acute patient in the history of our industry. So every home care agency out there, they see themselves as they need a little more horsepower. And we identified that early. We needed more horsepower. And a little bit of background on me from a clinical standpoint, Tim, I'm a physical therapist. And my life has revolved on wellness, on getting people better, making them do things they didn't even think that they can do. And for us, that was really the mindset behind Bedrock at Home when we first revamped it 8 years ago. Let's focus on independence. Let's focus on optimizing independence. Let's focus on getting people to optimal function, not just where they were from a pre-morbid status. And that really has worked really well. And that's been the mindset. The mindset in our entire continuum now, our entire ecosystem, is we want to get our patients, our clients, beyond the optimal function, beyond the optimal functional point that insurance sometimes will reimburse. And the private pay model allows us to do that, to see patients beyond that point and get them to a level where they can enjoy the quality of life rather than spend the last year of life bouncing back and forth from the hospital, home, rehab, and so on.
So people are going to want to know, with this kind of collaboration, you said physicians, nurse practitioners, therapists of all types. There has to be a a way to monetize that. There has to be a relationship with payers, whether it's the client and family themselves or private insurance and Medicaid. I assume you're not into Medicare, but how do you work that out? Excuse me. I know that telehealth, of course, is not billable through home care. So can you talk to us about how you turn this into a profitable business?
Absolutely. So our skill service portion of our business, we build all payers, right? So we build all insurance companies, Medicare, Medicaid. We're in contract with virtually every insurance company known to man. Our home care business, and this is one thing that I want the listeners to understand. Our clients are looking for value. They're looking for value. And when they understand that our home care agency comes with the horsepower of physicians, because our physicians, we have a physician group that's part of our ecosystem. When they know that our home care team comes with the power of therapists, and we just started behavioral therapy last week, Tim, so that's added even more value to our services. It comes with dietitians, it comes with pharmacists, it comes with, as you mentioned, that telehealth portion. So when they see that value, they what I tell everybody is, in the presence of value, pricing becomes irrelevant. And when you see our home care service model that is endorsed by the physician, which our services are, families engage that, they embrace that, they accept that, and they're willing to pay for those services. And we are doing fantastic from a financial standpoint. And again, our outcomes speak for themselves. So I tell everybody that will listen, our home care agency is more successful than most because we have the endorsement of the healthcare team. And most home care agencies, unfortunately, they're out on an island. They're trying to justify the value of their services, and they're trying to negotiate hourly rates, right? And they spend their time negotiating hourly rates. We don't do that. We negotiate the value. All of our cases, this is something that I love to share with your audience, Tim. Everyone, we have a proprietary trademark assessment scorecard. It's called the Bedrock Wellness Assessment. Every one of our admissions to our home care agency goes through a Bedrock Wellness Assessment. And it's a way for us to strategically triage the needs proactively of all of our clients, all of our patients. And then we collaborate with providers that we have in-house, and sometimes providers and specialists that are outside our scope of practice. And that allows us to get ahead, anticipate the decline, and sometimes eliminate it and avoid it. So that Bedrock Wellness Assessment, the ability for us to admit and assess patients objectively, that provides even more value. And it's allowed us, again, to charge the right rates. We've been able to pay our caregivers the right rates. And again, a happy caregiver yields a happy client, which yields a happy family. So we've been very, very successful at leveraging the entire ecosystem and providing that value to both the client, the provider, and then essentially our referral sources.
You told me once about an example that you had of a patient that had a remarkable recovery. I wonder if you could share just briefly that story. What was it, 8 years ago, shortly after you came on
Sure
board?
was. It sure was 8 years ago, Tim. And I'm so glad you mentioned that. Steve DePerry. Steve DePerry is a client that we had 8 years ago in South Jersey that is still close to my heart, and quite frankly was the crossroad. And sometimes we talk about him being the springboard of our wellness model. Steve DePerry, we went to see him. He was, very highly acute. He was on hospice, and unfortunately, pretty much at the end of the healthcare continuum. And we engaged with him. We aligned an exercise physiologist who was trained, to motivate and encourage memory care and cognitive impaired patients and clients. Teresa Horn was the exercise physiologist. I remember her name perfectly. She has moved on and is doing bigger things. But at the end of 6 weeks, Steve DePerry was able to, again, almost awaken. And he was able to speak with his family members. He was able to be engaged, hold conversations. And towards the end of our of our episode of Care with him, Tim, he was able to come outside, dribble the basketball. He was a long-time college basketball player, long-time professional overseas basketball player. And Teresa took him outside. He grabbed the ball, dribbled, and on his first try from the three-point line, he shot and made it all net. And it was almost a microcosm for us. That score was the score for us, which led to say, you know what? We can do this on a broader scale. And we took our exercise physiology wellness model across the state. And that really started our journey to say, man, if we can do this in home care, if we can affect this change in our clients, imagine what we can do with a team mentality of other providers that are willing to provide that much needed home care to our patients.
So with that kind of result, you have frequently used the term exercise physiologist, and I know that the people I deal with all the time are familiar with all of the speech and physical and occupational therapies that go into the home, but maybe you should just define exercise physiologist for us.
Perfect. So exercise physiologists are non-licensed clinicians, and that's the key. They're non-licensed or they're not regulated. They can't bill insurance yet. However, from an educational standpoint, they are prepared as good as anyone to prescribe exercise. Most of them are master level prepared clinicians who, quite frankly, don't really have a very robust or promising, work options. Most of them go into corporate wellness, or most of them end up going into other disciplines. So what we did is we tapped into a clinician, because exercise physiologists are clinicians who are very, very well trained in exercise. And then we put them in a private pay world, and we align their rates with our home care rates. So we tell all of our, based on the Bedrock Wellness Assessment, we tell all of our clients, based on the scorecard results, you will benefit from an exercise physiologist to come visit you. So we align the exercise physiologist, again, to start training with the clients. And then we have the exercise physiologist train the caregiver. And the caregiver, as you know, is spending sometimes 4 hours a day, sometimes 24/7. So they're able to carry over the exercise, the home exercise program that's being prescribed by the exercise physiologist. So they are, again, master level exercise science trained clinicians who are, from a technical standpoint, as good as anyone in prescribing exercise. You see them, most of them work in local gyms. They go into corporate wellness. Some of them do a lot of virtual exercise. We have leveraged that population to really affect the number one reason why our clients become hospitalized, why they fall, why they unfortunately go to long-term care, and that is frailty. So we call our exercise physiologists the first line of defense against the biggest enemy for our seniors, which is, again, that big back frailty.
So you gave us the example of Steve DePerry, but have you kept track in the time that you have been there of your overall statistics and improvements? I know that you mentioned, of course, your astounding 2.1% rehospitalization rate, but patient outcomes are critical to the people who watch these interviews of mine, and they want to know, does your system work overall for people, elderly people with chronic conditions? Do you have some stats to report?
Absolutely. That's a beautiful question. And here's what I tell all the audience when I talk to people about our outcomes and the progress is, anything that has to do with exercise, we use what's called functional outcome measures. So you can test, you can evaluate, you can assign the score in people's strength. So we use 4 different models here, Tim. We use the timed up and go test, which is a very simple test. We measure the ability for someone to get up from a chair, walk 10 feet, and then come back. And they can use the test using an assisted device. We also use what's called the sit to stand chair test. And that's when somebody without their hands, they stand up and sit down, and they do that, for 30 seconds. How many can you do in 30 seconds? And there are normative values that you can attest, and it's correlated with strength, and it's also correlated with fall risk factor. We also have a test called the functional reach, and the functional reach sounds just like that. People stand, they reach forward, and we measure the length that they're able to reach forward. And that has a transferable functional value into getting dressed, putting your shoes on, doing various ADLs. And then we do what's called the gait speed. And we measure exactly how fast or slow somebody's able to ambulate. And that is directly correlated not only to function, but believe it or not, Tim, gait speed is used by insurance companies to dictate mortality. And the slower somebody walks, the slower the systemic function, and unfortunately, the faster the demise. So I always tell our clients, our patients, walk a little faster, keep moving. And at times we tell people, slow down, slow down. No, you want to walk faster. You want to walk what the body identifies as natural ambulation. When people walk slower, people who have Parkinson's and other neuromuscular diseases, they have to work slower because the neuromuscular processing is delayed, it's compromised. But if people don't have that, walk natural. So that's what our exercise physiologists, that's what the physical therapy team work with our patients to make sure that we provide that natural progression to our clients and to our patients.
And so then the results overall, what happens to your typical 75, 85-year-old living alone who needs the kinds of exercise services you provide? They've got one chronic condition or another, or maybe multiple. You are keeping them out of the hospital. What are your overall results? Do you have other than the rehospitalization, do you have some outcome studies that you've done?
So our falls have decreased by 56%. Our timed up and go has improved by 80%. So the ability for someone to ambulate, again, 10 feet back and forth, using or not using their assistive device. The one that I'm most proud of is the gait speed. Our gait speed has gone up by 62%. Here's why gait speed is so important. Gait speed is important because someone's ability to ambulate correlates cardiac, neurological, kidney, liver, every function in the body, not to mention electrolytes, not to mention nutrition, not to mention the metabolism of medication. Ambulation is extremely, extremely systemically relevant, not to mention quality of life and the fact that people feel productive. That has improved by 60%. And then our functional reach, that has improved by 38%. Functional reach scores are very, very important. Again, that carry over to getting dressed, that carry over to being able to toilet yourself. Every ADL and IDL, activity of daily living or instrumental activity of daily living, is correlated and mandated by your ability to do the ability to actually reach down from a plane that you're not used to. And again, those scores are the average. There are patients, clients, Tim, that we see that they, maybe the first day that we see them, they can only get up from a chair in 30 seconds twice. And then after a few weeks of working with our teams, they're getting up and down in 30 seconds, 15, 20 times. The ability for them to walk, to ambulate, the frailty, the number one frailty muscle that we see deteriorate is your quadriceps muscle, which is your thigh muscle, and then your dorsiflexor muscle, which is what allows you to elevate your foot, right? It's called dorsiflexion, your ankle muscles. If you can't move your dorsiflexors, if you can't move your thigh, you can't walk, you can't stand, you can't sit for long periods of time, you can't twist in bed, you can't shower, you can't go to the bathroom. So again, it has a tremendous amount of correlation. And sometimes when we do the tests with our clients at first, they feel silly. What am I doing this? And then when they see the results, and we share the results with them every 4 weeks, we tell them, hey, Sally, hey, Tammy, look what you did, right? Because our population is not used to exercising. Our population perceives exercise as being taboo. So when they see the results, when they see the outcomes, they are not only are they encouraged, but they are very, very, very adamant about volunteering that information with their loved ones. They call their son, they call their daughter, and they say, look what mom is doing. We're also seeing, Tim, increases and improvements in their vital signs. Blood pressure is going down. We're seeing heart rate being regulated more. And also, believe it or not, we're seeing people who are on medications lower their medication intake. Diabetics are able to, again, regulate their insulin better. Exercise is a beautiful, beautiful prescription. Why? Because it has very little side effects. And it's also the most powerful anti-anxiety medication on earth. So it's really a holistic way to take care of our clients.
You mentioned that you also have clinicians on your staff. Physicians and nurse practitioners tend to come with a lot higher salaries, of course, than your hourly caregivers. The physicians must have some source of billing and coding claims that goes beyond just coming to the home and or coaching your caregivers and your exercise physiologists. What occupies their time? How do they help you to pay for their salaries?
So great question. So every one of our clinicians has a productivity standard. So they are assigned to a location. It could be a skilled nursing facility. It could be an assisted living. It could be visiting physicians. It could be doing telehealth. It could be doing all the above. They have a productivity standard based on an agreed and negotiated salary, and we reconcile and hold them accountable to those visits. We also do, the beautiful thing about what we do that I think it's unique, Tim, is that we handle all of the billing. We handle all of the credentialing. We handle all of the authorizations, the admissions. We handle all the registration. All we ask our clinicians to do is to see patients, document, that's it. We take care of all of the other bureaucracies. So it's a very easy, seamless process. We have a full-scale HR team. We have a full-scale IT team. We have a full-scale credentialing, revenue cycle management, collection, compliance, all that good stuff. And we have a very strong business development team that is constantly out in the community educating our hospitals, our referral sources, what we call our power partners, to make sure that we become kind of the entity that bridges all the gaps in care. And we're very successful at doing that. We also promote a tremendous amount of social media, but again, to answer your question, it's a productivity standard that is negotiated based on what they want to make. They do those visits. We maintain a tremendous amount of audit and compliance to everything is done correctly. We meet with every one of our clinicians on a weekly, monthly basis. And we talk about, hey, what other things can we do to support you guys? Last night, ironically enough, we held our first annual town hall meeting, which we get all of our clinicians to come to our office and, again, learn and understand our initiatives, our annual plan, our culture, where we are. And we do that, Tim, with full transparency and candor, because ultimately, we want to make sure that they continue to be proponents of our mission, of our vision. And if I can mention this right now, we have a very humble mission. I tell people our mission is threefold. It's made by our mission, our vision, and what we call our trademark. Our mission is to change the habits of yesterday by creating the new healthcare reality of tomorrow. That's our mission. Our vision is to leave healthcare better than we entered it. And what I always say, the humble mission is we just want to make sure that people understand. And by people, that is a global term, that the best days, Tim, of healthcare are not behind us, but that they're ahead of us.
Just a couple more questions before we run out of time. this particular audience of mine is going to be interested in the technology side of your business. Can you have uh, a typical home care agency, which might suggest one type of agency management system, but then you have some innovative types of services that you offer, including physicians under your corporate umbrella, nurse practitioners who are doing different activities. Some include visiting the home, some don't. So what have you done to put together a technology array that serves all of those needs and all of those business lines?
Yeah, that continues to be a work in progress, Tim, and we're looking to perfect that. So right now, from a software perspective, our home care team uses one software, our therapy team uses another software, our medical team uses another software, and we use one global billing mechanism. So that there's a full interface from one to the other. So that helps. But again, some things sometimes get missed. As you can imagine, some EMRs don't have a way to interface. So that has been a challenge. But again, it's something that we take on and we let our clinicians do the care. From a technology taking care of patients perspective, we are devouring every aspect of technology. So currently, from a home care perspective, and when it's mandated by our physicians, we deploy what's called remote patient monitoring devices. So it could be a scale, a blood pressure cuff, a pulse oximeter, a glucometer reader. We're getting big into the diabetics. And then we're also beta testing currently, Tim, wearables, sensors, again, that act as almost hemodynamics, being able to give readings of the patient's vital signs almost real time. So for us, again, it's technology. We believe that the future of healthcare, whether you're in home care, whether you're in home institutional care, the future of healthcare is in the hands of those that can integrate technology and biology. And we have adopted that. So for us, we leverage technology on every level. We do the telehealth platforms. We use, different softwares to transmit medications. So yes, my goal, Tim, if I could, I don't know if this is something that we can solve. I would love to have an overarching platform that would be the repository and the one single sign-on to all of my platforms. And I've been looking for that, again, for the last couple of years. In 2 weeks, we're also rolling out what we call our virtual care concierge. So people know Siri from Apple. We're rolling out our own virtual concierge. That's going to be the Bedrock, what we call the virtual concierge. Her name is Sophia, which happens to be my daughter's name. But Sophia, I didn't pick it because it was my daughter's name. I picked it because it means something. And Sophia, the letters in Sophia is what that virtual concierge is going to do for our patients and clients. So Sophia S, services that are optimized, but they're also predictive human innovation analytics. And that's what Sophia is going to do. And we're going to roll out a video, and I'll send it to you, Tim, where Sophia will be unveiled to the world. We hope to do that in 2 weeks in a 60-second video that's going to chronicle everything that we do and all of the services that Sophia will facilitate with all of our clients. So we're very, very much into technology, and we want to be able to bridge the gap, again, between our end user, our clients, and the referral sources who are looking for more automated, efficient, expedited ways to refer us their patients.
Plus, it has the added benefit of being the Greek word for wisdom, Sophia.
It is? There you go.
Oh, yes.
I did not know that. Okay, there you go. And she is very wise.
So you're continuing to develop. We need to keep in touch to touch base with you as things evolve. But the bottom line that I am perceiving is that you have taken the essential, typical definition of home care and added pieces to it that are improving patient outcomes, improving lives. You're taking people with chronic conditions and not just managing their health, but improving it. And you're doing this in such a way that you are able to charge enough to make it a meaningful business. And at the same time, you are expanding into additional states. Uh, one last question that people like to know. I asked you about your technology. Build or buy? Have you created some of these things in-house, or have you bought some off the shelf, or combination?
Wow, that is a great question. And if I had my investors on the line, they might answer this differently. So we tried, Tim, to create our own a couple of years ago, and it wasn't a very fruitful venture. So we have since gone off the shelf. And again, there's configurations and capabilities of our current partners that they're able to accommodate. But when you're growing a practice and a model that we are growing, there are times that you innovate and there are times that you copy. And I think right now for us, copying seems to be a little faster and a little more profitable for us. And luckily, we work with partners that are able to really, again, be flexible and accommodate and adapt to what we do. But we went down the route a couple of years ago in trying to create our model, and it just wasn't very fruitful. And so we have really good partners, but I will tell you, I am always looking to get better. I am always looking to get a technology platform that's only going to make me improve. And I tell my partners all the time, I want to challenge you to bring me new ways of doing things better. And I don't want stagnation. The healthcare model is not standing still, so neither should we. And I want to make sure that, again, technology continues to facilitate. There's different things that people are using: Chat GPT, AI, machine learning, natural language processing. We're looking at every single angle to, again, optimize the patient journey. Not so much from the patient because that's understood, Tim, but we have to make it easier for our providers, our clinicians, because guess what? The morale of the clinician right now is at an all-time low. So if I make it more cumbersome for them to navigate the healthcare system, to see patients, to document what they're doing, it's going to be very difficult for me to manage human capital. And human capital ultimately is the only way that I grow my business.
I can't think of a better way to sum up our conversation. And we're just about out of time. So we have been speaking with Andre Gomez, the president and CEO of Bedrock. You call it the Bedrock Wellness Ecosystem, but the official name is Bedrock Healthcare at Home. And let's keep in touch, because as you pursue additional technology, I might even be able to help you with that. So
I would love that.
thank you, Andre. Thank all of you for joining us. This is Tim Rowan. This has been Meet the CEO. We'll talk to you next time.